What's up, YouTube? We're here in the food forest today. This is a Syntropic planting that we planted about 6 months ago with fruit trees, berries, pineapples, all different kinds of fruit in different strata, as well as a lot of support plants along with that to really support the system. I'd like to give you an update and walk you through and show you how things are going. Look at those areas that we can improve, those gaps that we can fill in, as well as those consortiums that are doing really well. So we did a hard reset here on about half an acre that was planted with a flower market garden monocrop. We decided we wanted to remove that. We did leave a perimeter, kind of an eco buffer around the perimeter here, but we wanted to plant a polyculture, a syntropic planting. So we already did one succession of clover where we planted the whole field with clover, a great nitrogen fixer, and we chopped and dropped that for the organic matter in the topsoil to really build that up, to protect the IMOs, those indigenous microorganisms, to help the soil fertility, to get the nutrient cycling going and really support all the plants that we've just planted. This is about 6 months along now. We have some gaps that we need to fill in and correct and bring some balance to the system. We also have some areas where we have some really great consortiums working in tandem in a symbiotic fashion. The different support plants that we're adding in with our target crops as well. And we're gonna look at those areas and some techniques where we can bring some balance, we can do some pruning and do some more planting and really get this system really equalized across this whole grid that we've planted. Regenerating degraded soil is not an overnight process, so it does take time. I'm being patient with this system. And really we started from decomposed granite, very sandy granite soil. There was not much organic matter here, and already in 6 months, it's amazing to see we can dig down and see the worms in the soil and just see that there's already so much organic matter and topsoil being built in a short period of time. So using these IMOs, these indigenous microorganisms from natural farming methods, along with strategic planting of our consortiums, these syntropic rows that we're planting and using support plants, this makes a really effective combination to really revitalize and add fertility to the soil and create systems that are really booming with production, really adding the fuel to that engine to get that nutrient cycling going. We're still in an accumulation phase here in this food forest, so we're really growing a lot of biomass to accumulate that organic matter, and we're working towards that abundance phase that will be transitioning to in the next year or two, where we have very productive systems, we have a lot of fertility in the soil, and that's really when the feedback loop starts giving back a lot more than we're putting in. But up front, we're having to put in a lot of work and energy. We have a repair sequence going on. If we look at ecological succession, the repair sequence has a lot to do with these pioneer plants that really pave the way for fertility, pave the way for our target crops to really thrive. And so we're kind of right in the middle of that. We're establishing the placenta, as it's known in syntropic agroforestry, and that's the web of life that really connects everything together, those indigenous microorganisms, along with the root web of all these plants connecting together so that it is a system that is growing in sequence together. It's all synchronized. So we have a lot of weeds that have been growing in, mustard and some other weeds. Instead of looking at those as burdens, what we're doing is chop and dropping those. We're mulching into place on our target trees, really adding some nice mulch and looking at this process as a repair sequence. So with some proactive management, we can really bring balance to the system here. My goal is in 1 year to have this completely balanced out, the density of trees and support plants, and fill in all the gaps and really equalize. We're gonna have to prune some trees down to let some others catch up. I've done a lot of research in Southern California looking at all the plants that work really well in this system, water-wise plants, nitrogen fixers, accumulators, all these different support plants and techniques that we can use to really be efficient and effective. We can save money on our costs, our water bill, our fertilizer costs, and we can really plant smart and efficiently, ergonomically, and really set ourselves up for success in very highly productive systems. Let's go check out the food forest. Here at the corner, we have a pomegranate. We have some castor bean support plants here. I can't say enough good things about this plant. I absolutely love it for this climate. I know it gets a bad rap as being an invasive, but with the right management, it can be a really valuable pioneer for a food forest. Here at the corner, we have a Myers lemon. This was a mature tree that we transplanted. We did a whole row across the top here, interplanted with some bananas and limes interspaced between the top row. And we got a really good deal on these trees. I know that in a perfect world, we would be planting everything from seed, and I see the value in that. But things don't always work in a perfect world. So we're basically adapting to what we've come across and source these different plants really at different stages. And so we're going to use some different techniques and pruning to really bring everything to more of an equalized level to synchronize everything. A few support plants we have right here, the giant canna muscifolia. This is a super vigorous, fast-growing plant, real similar to the banana. Chopping and dropping at the base, it will shoot up pups just like the banana and regenerate very easily. Great for biomass. And some more castor down here. We're globally planting that through our whole system as a pioneer. The lower strata, we have some blueberries here, more canna muscifolia, more castor. We have a longan here, more castor beans. You can see that this is going to seed. This is probably a month and a half old. So you can see how fast this will regenerate and reproduce. We can take these seeds and plant them throughout the food forest. Over here we have a low shrub goji berry. And next to that, we have a support plant. This is a cowpea, great for a support plant, nitrogen fixer. You can chop and drop it for the biomass. I do let some go to the pods just so I can collect these peas and replant them and continue regenerating the system. Some more cowpeas down here. We have a row of mangoes. This is one of the areas through here that we're giving more attention. Planted a lot more support plants, cover crops, equalize the water. And we just had these banana starts that were much younger, so they're playing catch up to the rest of the system. So a little bit more emphasis on this area to get it to all catch up and kind of equalize to where the rest of the system is. Another Inga ice cream bean, another red Adamoya here, goji berry, red Adamoya, blueberry. We have the pineapple guavas, raspberries for the understory. We've got some mangoes in here, more goji berries. We have more castor popping up. This is a really young castor, probably only a couple weeks old, so they grow super fast. Understory, we have pineapple, another longan tree here, blueberry, canna muscifolia, and another lemon tree here. All right, so looking here at this row, we have a banana starting off the row. We do have some castor beans here that are catching up, and a sunchoke offering some shade to the banana while it gets established. We can chop and drop this sunchoke back, Jerusalem artichoke, use that for mulch. We have some cowpeas here on the ground for the ground cover, fixing nitrogen. Moving down, we have a really nice stand of our Mexican sunflower that grew in here, one of the bigger stands in the whole food forest. So clearly this is a lot more progressed, further along than some of the other stakes that we put in. So what we'll do is equalize that during a pruning, during a system reset. When we do a heavy prune, we'll take this to the ground. We'll take some of the woody stakes in here and we're going to stake those in other areas where we need to fill in some spaces, like areas like this. We also have some castor beans over here that are giving some shade to a papaya. So this papaya is doing really well over here. Not all of our papayas have done great, but this one is doing really well. So this castor is really offering some nice dappled light you can see to this papaya, which it really loves while it's getting established. And once this gets a little bigger, we'll chop and drop the castors, and we'll let the system kind of catch up in other areas where we have some younger castors coming in. Down here on the bottom half of the row, you can see we do have an area that we need to really grow in. We've equalized the sprinklers down here and added a lot more castor, some other support plants that are growing in down here. You can see Mexican sunflower that we need to catch up to the rest of the established system like we have it up here. And you can see these bananas are much less mature than the bananas we had at the beginning of the row. Basically, that's because we had to source a bunch of pups. It's just how it worked out. So what we'll do is do a heavy prune on the top row of bananas that are much more advanced here. In about a month or so, we'll chop these down, and that'll give these other bananas down here a chance to catch up. And we'll do the same with our stands of the Mexican sunflower. Areas like this where we have the Mexican sunflower, but you know, this stake took a lot later than the other ones. So when we're pruning, we'll take some of those stakes that are nice and woody, and we'll stake those in the ground in some areas where we really need to fill in some gaps. We need to get some better cover crop down, more support plants in the system, in the rows, to really catch everything up. So we have our target fruit trees here planted at 16s, and then interspaced between those we have the support rows also at 16s. So the rows are 8-foot spacing here. And what we did is in the support rows, we wanted to have a first year harvest of some crops as well. So we're planting a few root crops that we'll be harvesting. I didn't want to have the root crops in the rows with a lot of our long-term target trees, because my thinking was we'd be disturbing the root zone where we're really establishing that placenta, the web, and the root zone with our longer term perennial trees, those target trees that are developing and really getting established. So I don't really want to be disturbing the soil right beneath those. So what we did is interplanted in this row turmeric here. We have a banana on the front, and then you can see we have a bunch of turmeric popping up here. Another banana along with the turmeric. So that'll be a first year harvest. And so we do want to have some first year crops that we're harvesting. We're not waiting forever and ever to, you know, be able to harvest. I did do some horseradish over here as well. And we'll be looking at doing a lot more turmeric, ginger in these support rows. The support rows mainly have banana, Mexican sunflower, papaya, and castor. So here you can see that this sunchoke is providing some valuable shade, not just for the plants, but for the important animals and allies that we have. This is Shasta Girl. She is the rabbit and squirrel chaser, takes care of them. So here in this target row, we have a lime tree. You can see some lime starting to develop, and a few nitrogen fixers below, cowpeas. Experimenting with this willow that we staked in. Not sure if that one will make it, but we have a lot of backups. A couple really important nitrogen fixers here. We have the popcorn cassia, and right next to it, we have another leguminous leucaena. You can see the frilly leaves is an indication of these legumes, and these are both really great nitrogen fixing allies, support plants for the food forest. The leucaena will be more of an overstory And then the popcorn cassia is more of a mid-range, creates more of a biomass, pretty dense biomass we can chop and drop, and it will regenerate and grow. So really important nitrogen fixers that we're putting in the system. And a understory pineapple next to that. We have a blueberry here that's getting some valuable shade from this castor. And really this is how we can use castor up front to provide some dappled light. You can see the blueberry is still getting some nice light here, but it's just getting a little bit of shade as well. And this is a really great use for the castor bean to allow some of these other support plants to catch up. This is just so fast growing. So taking a look at this row, we have a plantain starting this row off. Experimenting with some willow stakes. This one is still alive. We'll see if it makes it. We have castor bean. We have some more Mexican sunflower here. And below that, we have Gliricidia. Gliricidia is an amazing chop and drop nitrogen fixer. We did have about 10 stakes. So we didn't have enough to do the whole food forest, but we did a row essentially across the very top here. We've established it in the support rows across the very top. Seems to all be taking nicely. There's another one right here. This grew from a stake that I put in the ground that rooted in. You can see right there, we got the shoots coming off. So what we can do is let these mature. They'll be higher canopy overstory, and also providing some nice mulch for the system and fixing nitrogen. And basically these stalks, once they get really large, we can do the same thing we're doing with the Mexican sunflower, taking the stems, those stalks, the woody stalks, sectioning them up and then staking them in and rooting them in. So we'll be able to use this as a mother stalk and, you know, equalize the whole system with overstory nitrogen fixers, and also save money on having to buy a bunch of stock up front. So we have a nice little consortium of support plants here with the banana, the plantain, the castor, Mexican sunflower, and then this Gliricidia that's growing in, and that'll mature into more of a woody stalk overstory. And this Mexican sunflower can kind of shade that out, support our support while that's growing in. Moving along, we have some cowpeas in here that are getting pretty eaten up. They did produce some peas, so we're gonna harvest those, replant the system, regenerate, you know, those crops that we're growing. A nice papaya here. You can see the weeds that we're pulling out, we're mulching in place around, you know, our targets and support plants, and basically creating a nice mulch, cycling those nutrients back into the soil. A lot more cowpeas here, you can see. Be harvesting these peas and replanting them all. You know, next generations of cowpeas coming in. More of these bananas through here. We do have more turmeric, I indicated with some flags. So you can see some turmeric growing in. We have a support castor that'll shade that out. Another banana here. More turmeric. Banana, turmeric. Another banana. This next row we have an Inga, an ice cream bean, which is a nitrogen fixer. It also has delicious fruit around the seed pods. Red Adamoya, currently flowering. You can see the buds, the flowers here. Some of these are self-pollinating, but a lot of these you have to actually hand pollinate. The Annona family. And you can see the weeds that we've been selectively weeding. We're placing below here and mulching our targets, cycling in nutrients. We got a goji berry. This one has a little bit of a powdery mildew, but yeah, we'll mitigate that. Another red Adamoya here. pineapple in the understory. So I've just been weeding around, making sure that's not getting out competed or covered up by weeds. We have a lot more weeding to do, obviously. Blueberry. And a pineapple guava here. Raspberries. We got some mangoes here. Another goji berry. Castor beans coming up. Pineapple in the understory. Longan. Blueberries. You can see some of the selective weeding. We're opening it up and mulching in place. Canna musifolia, giant canna. That'll help to create some shade for this target tree. This lemon tree has been struggling a little bit. It was transplanted. It's not my favorite thing to do, but we got these trees for a really great price. The owner who was removing them had to essentially get rid of them. So, you know, it is acclimating, but obviously starting seedlings with any trees, they're gonna do a lot better and healthier. There is some transplant shock when you're transplanting these established trees. It is rebounding, you know, it's putting on some fruit, which is good, but that'll take some time, take some work. Definitely need a lot more support plants, nitrogen fixers. And yeah, that canna musifolia down there will grow nice and tall, provide a little shade. It'll be a great biomass for the lemon tree here. All right, so let's check out this row. We have a Hawaiian banana. This is Maoli. We've got some sunchokes here. Nice chop and drop. We've got the Glaricidia from a stake. So really excited about this Glaricidia as it matures. That will be some of our overstory and that nitrogen fixer. Some cowpeas here. We do have some of the popcorn cassia. This is a nitrogen fixer here. So great support plant. Some cowpeas below this papaya here. Papaya's hanging in there. It's not the healthiest in here, but we're going to surround it with more support plants and yeah, continue mulching in the topsoil here. So here we have a stake of Mexican sunflower that did not make it, you can see. So that's okay. Essentially what we'll have to do is correct this area from a stand like this, where clearly the Mexican sunflower did make it. And we have a lot of new stakes. You can see there, some of those are woody. So we can chop those and restake some propagation starts right here to fill in this gap, you can see. So yeah, kind of a gap over here. So we'll correct that within year one is the goal. Support plants, support plants, support plants. Oh, nice butterfly here on the popcorn cassia. And we got some honeybees checking out the flowers. So that's a great chop and drop nitrogen fixer. Another banana here. I put a lot of castor bean seeds in the ground, so we'll be seeing a lot more castor beans popping up. This is a Senecio skyscraper. This is a cam photosynthesizer. This plant holds a ton of moisture, you can see. So this plant requires very little water. It grows very vigorously. It's very easy to propagate. It's very easy to break off a branch once it's established and reroot it. And yeah, just a great cam photosynthesizer, and will make a lot of really great biomass. So here we have another papaya that's doing well. And some of this wild lettuce makes a really good mulch. It's definitely a bioaccumulator, pulling up a lot of minerals, nutrients from the soil, and giving us a beautiful mulch here. So that's essentially, we'll just surround the papaya with all these weeds that we harvest and pull out, do some selective weeding. There we go. Happy papaya tree. Definitely need to fill in some more support. We have castor bean seeds that went in the ground. Another banana has to catch up to the rest of those. So with the heavy reset we do, once we chop the Mexican sunflower and the bananas, that will give us time to let these catch up. More of the popcorn cassia here in the support row. It's good to see more of that. When I'm first establishing a system, I like to globally plant those pioneer support plants consistently all the way through. However, another technique I like to use is here with this Inga tree on the very end. When I transplanted that, we have basically a basin. Because we're on slope here, I have to do basins for all the target trees. Wow, look at this beautiful bee here on the sun hemp. Gorgeous bumblebee. So anyways, I like to plant these basins with guilds. So essentially we have this sun hemp here that the bumblebee is just loving. And we have castor beans down here. We've got cowpeas down here. Now, I want to point out something here. What I'm seeing is that this cowpea is actually serving as a bait plant. You can see we have some aphids. And usually when you see aphids, you see ants along with them. The ants actually hitchhike them in, and they have a mutual relationship there. And so obviously this cowpea is not doing well because it's getting hit hard by these aphids, but it is serving as a bait plant to basically attract those aphids away from some of the other plants in the system. But this is an imbalance that I need to fix. Aphids are not the hardest thing to deal with, but you know, we do need to knock those back. So some Jadam pesticides is a good way to go with that. Natural pesticides, using essential oils of plants that grow, you know, in the system, as well as a horticultural soap you can make. Moving up this row, we have a pineapple here in the understory. We have a carambola that's doing well. And below that, we have some support, some of those cowpeas. Moving along, we have a blueberry here. We have more castor supports growing in. Another carambola here. We have some raspberry in the understory. More castor popping up. We got a mango over here. You can see it's been mulched with weeds we've been pulling out. Goji berry starting to put on some berries here. Understory, we have more pineapple interspaced through here. We have a longan here, and more cowpeas supporting that. Another blueberry and another Canamusifolia. Beautiful flowers coming on. The hummingbirds love this. That will support this lime tree. So we can see we have some limes growing in, and this will help to shade out the lime tree here and also create some nice biomass when we chop it back. Also with this lime tree, you can see some castor coming in. So a lot more castor filling in the gaps and providing shade, letting some of the other support plants catch up too that don't grow as fast. And this is a really good example right here. More Gliricidia, you know, which is a fast growing tree once it really gets established, but it's just really taken time to root in from a stake. And that'll start growing faster and faster as it develops and matures. But in the meantime, castor can catch up, grow multiple generations before this Gliricidia, you know, gets really established and grows into the overstory. So the castor is just filling those gaps in the system and giving everything time to kind of equalize, catch up, and relieve some pressure off the seedlings, provide some shade, provide some biomass for mulch, and just help to jumpstart that engine. All right, let's take a look at this target row here. We have another one of our Myers lemons that we transplanted for the top row up here. It's doing pretty good. You know, it's got some new growth coming on here, getting established. But obviously there was a little transplant shock from these more mature trees. We have some Mombasa grass down here, thanks to Mike over at Ever Oak for those starts. And we have the castor growing in as well. We have some sunchokes here. So those will help to shade out this lemon tree while it's transitioning and really getting established here. We have a blueberry in the understory here, another pineapple in the understory, and a longan. We've got some supports under here, cowpeas growing in, different nitrogen fixers. We've got more of the Mombasa grass. We'll chop and drop that here pretty soon in a hard reset to reset the system, mulch out this longan. We've got more of the goji berries, understory here, another pineapple here, a mango, raspberry, understory, another pineapple here. We've got guava, blueberry, carambola, and another Inga ice cream bean. So filling in the gaps, planting more support plants all the way up through, really establishing these rows better. And we'll be doing a heavy reset here pretty soon to help to catch up some of these bananas, some of the Mexican sunflowers, and really just to equalize the whole system here. All right, this area in the food forest, we need to really improve. We got kind of this dead zone in here that we just need to fill in. So what I'm doing is adding some CAM photosynthesizers. These are succulents that can actually photosynthesize very efficiently at nighttime. They can close their stomatas to hold moisture when it's really needed in really hot climates, and they hold a lot of moisture. So one of those is the ice plant. So along kind of the edge of my row, I buried this ice plant. It's really easy to transplant this. I just removed some ice plant from other areas that is growing on the farm here. And so we have like this area right here we need to fill in. So I got one right here that will grow down and kind of fill this space. And I got a little trench over here. I'm gonna fill this gap in and it'll take off, branch off. But essentially, you can just take this ice plant, the branches that you pulled out. It does have some roots on some areas. It's really easy to propagate. So what we'll do is just bury this in the trench that I dug out. And this is on the side of my row. So it'll kind of grow down along with the row. This will get established and kind of fill in that way, fill in this way. And I can hack it back as needed and just drop that biomass to the ground. It'll also create this nice ground cover. In the meantime, we can fill in some of the gaps here that we need to fill in. So I just buried the base of that branch. Some of the nodes had some roots on it, and you can see it's just sticking up at the end. So that's parallel with our row down the hill, and this will just branch off that way, this way, and fill in some of the gaps. So CAM photosynthesizer is really important to know, utilize in hot, arid Mediterranean climates. All right, so over on this end of the food forest, this is a nice guild right here. We have a Mexican sunflower up front, and right there behind it, we have a papaya. This will soon grow taller than the papaya, offer some nice dappled light, and really give it a fighting chance, as well as this Canamusifolia here. So really two nice supports for this papaya. That'll be a secondary harvest, year 3, 4. Do have some more bananas in the understory that will catch up to the rest. More of the Canamusifolia. We've got some cowpeas, more of the canna, and more banana at the very top here. Over in this row, we have another target crop row. We have the lime trees here that were interspaced with the lemons. And we have some castor. I really like to plant about 3 castor plants kind of around at a 90-degree angle that is basically facing south, west, and east. And that helps to create some nice support plants, you know, that also helps to create shade from the sun. So that was kind of what I did here. All right, we have more of the sunchokes. Great chop and drop, really vigorous growing plant. Doesn't need a whole lot of attention and just grows vigorously. We got a blueberry in the understory. Some more support casters that will help to create a little shade for that. We got some support cowpeas going on next to this understory pineapple. Another longan, you know, some castor to help provide some shade for that longan tree. Another goji berry, pineapple for the understory. Another mango. More support plants, cowpeas, guava, tropical guava, and more of the inga. This just went to flower, really interesting flowers. Hopefully they got pollinated, and we're gonna see some bean pods on this ice cream bean. Here we're at the far corner of the food forest. We did leave this eco buffer, which I want to plant some other support plants, some flowers for all the pollinators. We do have some hibiscus rows up through there. And here on the end with this ice cream bean, we have a kiwi planted down here. So I want to experiment with trellising the kiwi. On the edges, we'll have some vines. Try to use this ice cream bean as a natural trellis for our kiwi. Probably have to set up some other kind of trellising system here as this develops and matures. And we've got some support, some castor to help kind of create some shade there. Mango tree, sunchokes, really nice stand of Mexican sunflower that made it. So this will be chopped and dropped very soon. And we'll also take a lot of these stakes to, again, stake in some of the areas that we had some of the Mexican sunflower stakes that didn't make it. All right, you can see some of the little castor beans that are growing in to fill some gaps. We've got some more goji berry, pineapple in the understory, more sunchokes, cowpeas down here, more Mombasa grass. We've got the castor bean with a longan tree, more cowpeas, castor, sunchokes, all under this inga tree. This is more the density that I want to see consistent through the whole food forest, where we have all these different support plants and trees at different strata kind of working in the system. Do have a pineapple in the understory that's getting nibbled on, probably by rabbits. They do really like pineapples, so hopefully we can get these pineapples to make it through. Canamusifolia, again, castor down below. More castor beans growing with the lemon tree here. Another one of these lemons that, you know, definitely got some shock from transplant, but it's gonna pull through. And a nice stand of Mexican sunflower up here as well. This support row here is really one of my favorites. So let's take a look at this support row. Started with a large banana, and we have some nitro fixers under here, more cowpeas. We've got the sunchokes again that are actually shading out the banana to some degree. In the later afternoon when the sun moves across the sky, that'll provide some nice shade. That'll be a nice chop and drop as well. Down below, we do have another Glaracidia stake that's growing in. That'll take a little time, and then that'll be a great overstory and nitro fixer. We have some cowpeas growing in the mix, some castor beans that will help to grow up, provide some shade for some of these younger seedlings to really develop and grow in. We interplanted some turmeric here in the understory for a first year crop, that root crop, along with all these support plants. We got a castor bean here that'll provide a little shade. Turmeric does like a little bit of shade. We do have a papaya here, and then below we have some cowpeas to harvest, replant. We've got the popcorn cassia, great nitrogen fixer, biomass plant. We've got another, this is a red banana. I think it's a Cuban red. We've got more of the turmeric growing here. We've got more of this nitrogen fixer, the popcorn cassia, senna, and a nice stand of Mexican sunflower. We can chop down more of the popcorn cassia, and more of this turmeric here at the bottom of the row. We have some younger bananas that will have to catch up to the rest of the system. And then we have this row of turmeric that's all popping up down here. So a bunch of turmeric for a first season crop. Here we've got a nice guild. A mango tree as a target. We have a sun hemp growing through right here, nitrogen fixer, biomass, cowpeas down below. A lot of nice peas to harvest to regenerate and plant. And then we have a little leucaena start right here. So definitely trying to get a lot more leucaena in the system for an overstory, nitrogen fixer, biomass plant. Planted a lot of seed through here, but haven't seen a lot of it popping up. So I am trying to propagate some of that in the greenhouse, and then maybe I can transplant some young starts. But I'm gonna keep direct sowing the seeds in the ground to try to get a lot more leucaena here in the system. And a great example of why it's important to stay on top of the weeding, selective weeding, especially in the rows, because where we planted a bunch of seeds, we need to give that space for our little seedlings to grow in. We want to provide space for those support plants to really thrive, to take hold, and ultimately outcompete all the weeds. It's more of finding the balance and it is a mix between supports, ground covers, and weeds, and that's okay. I'm okay with that. We don't have to have just a ground cover and absolutely no weeds. It's more a matter of giving space for those supports that we want to fill in the right gaps and strata, the levels in the system, and making sure those have a fighting chance. And by doing that and evolving this system, naturally we're going to outcompete the weeds. And those different successions, as it progresses along, these weeds won't have an environment to thrive in. That about does it for this video. If you're liking the content, please like, subscribe, leave a comment. Let me know what your favorite fruit tree is growing in a Mediterranean climate. Comment down below. And I will be offering a membership here soon for those that would like to deep dive even further into all of this, all of the research I'm doing, really explaining everything in detail, natural farming with syntropic agriculture, integrated regenerative management for our orchard here. You can see the market garden as we're really getting ready to go to market and how that's evolving as well. Integrating animals, goats into the system. You can expect that membership to be dropped soon. Peace.